Hello, everybody. My name is Mr. Spina, and I am going to be taking you through the Latin and Greek resources for the remainder of the school year. So, all of the language arts teachers in 7th grade are collaborating to create resources for our students to work on, and each teacher is taking a lead in a different area, and my area is Latin and Greek resources. So, even though I might not be your normal teacher, I'm going to be, for the remainder of the school year, your teacher for Latin and Greek materials. I want to show you a couple of different things. Some of them may look really familiar to you. Some of them may be brand new. Um, but all of this stuff kind of gets us ready for the Latin and Greek assignments that you'll have in the coming weeks, okay? So the first thing is in front of you is the Latin and Greek work for week 15. And I'm showing you this document because you're going to have a few of these coming at you, one every week or one every other week, depending on what rotation works best for us. And this is where you learn and practice the assignment or the roots. There are a few different sections. You can see at the top here, these are the roots for week 15. So I can see the root I'm learning, amphi, and the meaning of that root, round or both sides. And I can see I have 5 different roots I'm learning: amphi, caco, di, lexis, and loc or loc. The pronunciation of these all by themselves is not really important. It's really about the meaning of the root that is really important. All right, so let's get to the work. Like I said, there are several different types of work you have to do. You're going to probably want to create a copy of this document when you get one. The first one is probably the most difficult assignment. It's section 1. For each of these words given below, you're going to do a few different things. First, you're going to underline the root that you recognize. You're then going to use Google or a dictionary to learn the meaning of a word given. And then you're going to create in your own words a simple explanation for that word. And then you're going to underline the meaning of the root that you recognize in that explanation. So here's an example. I'll do a few with you also. Triangle is the word that was given. Tri is the root that I recognize. And here's my explanation. A shape with 3 sides. You can see I've underlined 3. Why did I underline 3? Because 3 is the meaning of the root that I recognize. The root that I recognize is tri, and tri means 3. Let's try it with cacophony, okay? So caco is the root that I recognize. I'm just going to open a new tab, and I'm going to Google cacophony. A harsh, discordant mixture of sounds, a cacophony of deafening alarm bells. So I'm guessing cacophony means bad sounds. I'm going to go back to my work, and I'm going to record my explanation in my very own words. And then the last thing I need to do is underline the meaning of my root in my explanation. So I was sure to include caco in my explanation. Let's try relocate, okay? So here's the root that I recognize. Underline that. Now I know what relocate means, so I don't have to really look it up. It means place. Loc means place. So what does relocate mean? To change your place. I'm going to underline the meaning of the root that I recognize. So far, so good. Let's try this one. Amphibian. I recognize the root amphi. There's amphi. I'm going to open a new tab and Google amphibian. I know amphi means both sides. So as I'm looking at this explanation, I'm trying to figure out why amphibian is part of it. Why is both sides part of the explanation of amphibian? A cold-blooded vertebrate animal of a class that comprises frogs, toads, newts, and salamanders. They are distinguished by having aquatic, so water, gill-breathing larval stage followed by terrestrial, so land, lungs, breathing adult stage. So I think I understand it. Both sides, amphibians, live in both water and on land. Ta-da! So that's my explanation. An animal that lives on land and in the water. I have to have both in there because amphi means both sides. So I'm going to squeeze it in. Both. So far, so good. Let's keep going. Die. So I'm going to Google dilemma and see what it means. It means a situation in which a difficult choice has to be made between two or more alternatives, especially equally undesirable ones. So if die means two, dilemma is a problem with two possible solutions. There's two. Got it? I think you got it. I'm not going to spend time finishing section 1 because we're going to go on to section 2. Like I said before, section 1 is kind of tricky. There are 4 things you have to do. So section 2. In each column, list 3 words that use the root at the top of the column. Do not use words from section 1 of this assignment. So what I need to do is I need to list 3 words that use amphi, but I'm not going to use amphibian because it's right here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Google tab. Words that use the root amphi. There it is. So what I want to do is I want to be careful though. I don't want to include words that I don't really know what they mean. I don't have to understand the word perfectly, but I don't want to type a word that I don't know what it means because it might get me into trouble. So here's a nice little resource. Comes from Greek, blah, blah, blah. Looks great. So amphi. Here's some words. I'm looking for examples. I'm scanning the page. There are a bunch of examples, but I don't know what most of those mean, so I'm going to try a different source. Here we go. Let's try this one. Amphibious, capable of living on both land and water. How about this? Amphibiology, a branch of zoology that is concerned with animals that live on both land and water. So that's a lot like the word that I used before. So I'm going to copy that explanation. I'm just going to paste it here. I'm going to try and find 2 more words. Oh, here we go. Amphicarpic, producing 2 kinds of fruit. I know putting that word in there is not going to get me in trouble. So I'm going to try and find one more that kind of understand. Amphibolia. I don't really understand that. Amphibolic on certain stages. I don't know, that one doesn't make sense to me. Amphilogism. Double talk. Ambiguity of speech. Sure, that'll work perfectly. So I'm going to do that for all of the roots I have for this week. I'm going to find 3 words that use that root and that the word makes sense to me. And I'm also going to make sure that I just don't use one of these that I just worked on up here. That's section 2. That's not so hard. Here's section 3. So section 3 is just an opportunity for you to practice the roots using Quizlet. Let me close this. Just spend some time here, like 10-15 minutes, review the terms. You can play a game, playing a video game. I just got to sign into my account. You can play match. There's all kinds of fun things you can do with these flashcards. So spend about 15 minutes practicing them in there. And then when you're done, the teacher will share the test with you, or it might already be shared with you. It's going to be a little bit different for each teacher. But when you're all done with this work, you're going to want to take the test, okay? I'm going to go over to the test right now so you can see what it looks like. You do have to be signed in with your Saline Area Schools account to be able to take the test. You have to be signed into Google more specifically. It's going to ask you questions like what is your last name and what is your first name and what section are you in. So I'm going to start taking this test and see how I do. I am in first section. Like if there's a question here that doesn't necessarily make sense, don't worry about it too much. Let's get to the test itself. The Greek root nim means name. What describes the incorrect or bad naming of something? So I know the word kako, the root kako means bad, and nim means name. So this must be the answer because that means bad name. What does the word dioxide probably mean? I have no idea, but I do recognize this root because di means two. So I'm going to look for my explanations, my options, and look for something. Something formed with two atoms of oxygen. That makes sense. That's the only one that does make sense. What does the word locomotion probably mean? I know that loco means move, right? Or change, place? Place, right? Loco means place. I'm sorry, lock means place. Motion that is circular. Motion that changes a person's place. That seems like a hint. Motion that causes disease. Motion that is on, it's got to be that one, right? Let's try this one. Amphibians are a special group of animals. Why is the name amphibians appropriate for this particular group? They're cold-blooded. They're capable of moving on their own. They live in both land and water. There we go. There's a hint. See it? Both. They have a negative impact on other animals. I don't know much about amphibians, but from my work, I learned about amphi meaning both, so I know that must be the answer. The root graph means to write or record. Which word describes a person that records words in a dictionary? I have no idea. But I know this would be like to writer. Lexicographer would be lexi meant word, right? So this would be a word writer. Would a word writer be a good answer for a person that records a dictionary? I think so. So I'm going to click that one. A cacographer would be a bad writer. And a locographer would be like a place writer. So that doesn't make sense. So the answer must be this. Even though I don't know what a lexicographer is, I'm getting the answer right. At the end is an optional bonus extra credit question. So we didn't study these. What it is, these are right here are common Latin and Greek phrases that show up in everyday life as an adult. And then if you happen to learn these, you'll get a bonus point every time you take the quiz. So when professionals do their work for free, often for the good of less fortunate, the work is described as, I happen to know this one, it's called pro bono. So when a lawyer practices law for free for like people who are impoverished or live in poverty or to help a cause that they believe in, it's called pro bono. So we're going to hit submit, and if I set this up correctly, I would have feedback coming at me right away. You should get feedback right away so you can see how you've done. So the whole point of this video was to introduce you to the Latin and Greek work. There's two big things you have to do, your Latin and Greek work, which is this document, and then take the test. Keep in mind that your Latin and Greek work has several sections. Section 1 where you're explaining the words, Section 2 where you're finding words that use the root, and Section 3 where you're practicing using Quizlet. That will be the flow of our Latin and Greek work for the next few weeks. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to your teacher or even to me, and I'll be glad to help you out as we work through this unique online assignment. Take care and good luck on your Latin and Greek work.